Amazing, amazingly powerful emotion. It's probably the biggest excuse that we use to not take risks, to not go after our dreams, to not challenge ourselves, to not live our life fully, because we're afraid. And so many people are afraid of things that they don't even understand about themselves. And this does tie back to your core story that we talked about before. And 4 emotions that really fuel fear are guilt, blame, anger, and shame. When you grow up with, if you were molested, for example, as a child, it's one of the hardest things to deal with as an adult. As a matter of fact, a lot of people who were molested as children never come forward because they feel guilty, they blame themselves, then they get angry, and they're ashamed. When you grow up with an alcoholic father, there's a lot of fear associated. As an adult alcoholic, as an adult child of an alcoholic, there's a lot of fear associated with your life. There's a lot of fear-based decisions that you make. Do you make fear-based decisions? Do you stop and ask yourself, is this good for me? Is this something I want? Is it for, you know, the good of the best, higher and better good of my life, in betterment of my life? Or am I saying no to this challenge and this opportunity because I'm afraid? When you grow up with an alcoholic parent, there's also a lot of guilt. You wonder if maybe you're the reason he or she drank. Blame, maybe, you know, your life didn't turn out the way it could have or should have because of them. Anger. When you grow up with an alcoholic parent, as did I, you grew up with a lot of anger. And then there's that thing, shame again. You know, so I remember being so ashamed of my father and so angry with who he was as an alcoholic, and also blaming myself. Maybe I was part of the reason he drank. And then if you've ever been involved with someone who struggles with mental illness, you go through the same thing: guilt, blame, anger, shame. You go through that when you're going through a divorce. And so often we stay in situations as adults that are unhealthy for us because we're afraid to leave, because we don't want to experience one of those 4 emotions: guilt, blame, anger, shame. It's almost too much. It's almost too painful. So when we're talking about fear, there are things like molestation, suicide, abuse, losing your job. You have to get to a place where you feel, where you accept your fear and you control your fear. As a matter of fact, when you control your fear, you control your future. There are 6 steps to controlling fear. And before we take a look at those, let's take a look at the top 6 fears. And by the way, death and dying is not number 1. The number 1 fear is actually fear of being alone, which is my major fear, and I've had that most of my life. The second one is fear of losing control. Third, believe it or not, is fear of flying. Fourth is being closed in. And fifth is fear of abandonment. I have that one. Sixth is death and dying. So when you stop and think about it, these are the top 6 fears. And I think that most of them are actually pretty rational. The thing about fear is it's manageable. And it's something that you can learn to control when you understand where your fears come from. And once you do the core story evaluation that I suggested on my website, I think you're going to be amazed to find that so many of your personal fears tie back to your core story life experience. Now take a moment right now and hit on the button below, and you can download 6 steps for overcoming your fears. And while you're down there, take a minute and comment about the video. Until then, go live your life.